it's me again. You probably feel like throwing a great big breeze block at your screens, don't you? I mean, once a week is bad enough, but you've got me nearly every day this week, because this week is anti-bullying week, and it's something I am beyond passionate about, because like we have Autism Awareness Month or an ADHD Awareness Month, you know, when you live with bullying, it's a lifetime. It's not just a week. It's not just a month. And whilst autism and ADHD and neurodiversities can bring immense gifts along with the challenges, bullying is really on another level. And just today, my very best friend is going into hospital to have a procedure done to her jaw 20 years after she was beaten up as an 11-year-old girl by a bunch of guys. And she is autistic, she has Aspergers. Whether that was anything to do with her bullying because she was different, we'll never know now. But they've moved on with their lives, but she is living with this reminder of what was done to her, and her journey isn't over yet. You know, I have personally lost in the last year either children I've been working with, young people I've been working with, and also a friend, you know, where life just got too much. The bullying got too much and they didn't want to be here anymore. And they left because this world was too much. And so on a personal level and a professional level, I'm unbelievably passionate about not just awareness, but educating people about bullying, because it can be life shortening as well as life changing. And don't get me wrong, there's many examples, and I'm going to be writing articles this week about people who have survived horrific bullying, and they've gone on to do extraordinary things. You know, they've become famous and well known in their fields. But when you're a young adult or a child and you're going through this, it's like a purgatory, because you can't imagine getting through it, you know, and it really can change and shape your life. And when you're a young person, and particularly a young person who is neurodiverse, where your stress levels are higher anyway, and mainstream life is more difficult to navigate, it really can be fatal and really very destructive. And as I said yesterday, in my work, and sometimes it's really uncomfortable, I will actually work with bullies, and they often don't know I know that they're bullies, but I will work with them knowing what I know, because to me that's the route. The answer is not to keep moving the victims from school to school. That's not the answer, because it leaves them without closure. It leaves them feeling afraid. And bullies are often afraid and fearful and very angry. And so a lot of the work I do with the victims of bullies and the bullies themselves can overlap in many ways. And I'm happy to freely share those ideas. And honestly, if you want to use them, go ahead. You know, I'm not on here to make a great big name for myself and take ownership of all these things. And I've seen other people do posts on the stuff that I share. And you know what? I don't get cross. I just think, well, you know, they're going to get to a few more people that maybe I won't reach. So it might not be very honest of them. But, you know, I don't mind, because to me, we are all in this together. Our young people have never needed us more, and we need to be there. We need to be there and be that one person that either the bully or the victim can speak with, and to listen, and to not give false promises, and to not give false hope, but to really get to the issue. Anyway, I sound like I'm on a bit of a soapbox and I'm supposed to be demonstrating a therapy. I'm sorry about that. It's just because I really do care so much. Anyway, I came up with something because this has been really bothering me. And over half term, I was like this bionic woman. I now have a triple wardrobe in my chalet, and it's absolutely packed solid up to the roof and right to the back with all these games. I invented, goodness me knows how, I don't know how many games I came up with over the half term, but bullying and mental health was very much on my mind. So I made this little anxiety exploration box. Somebody had sent me a present, and I'm a sentimental, funny little thing. And even down to boxes of candles or soaps or chocolates, I will keep it and recycle it into a game. I know I'm a weirdo. You know that by now. So anyway, I don't know what was in this, but it smells really nice. Anyway, so I made it into an anxiety exploration box. And rather than just sit kids down and ask them a stock set of questions and make them feel like I'm a therapist and there's that barrier and they have to answer me, I put it into games. Because, you know, some days in my body I'm about 3. In fact, often I am. And then other times I feel about 1,000, and sometimes I'm both together, which is really weird. But that's neither here nor there. The great thing is, what I do is when I come up with ideas, I put them into games, because then you've engaged the kids, you're empowering the kids. It's that invitation to meet them. And some of my games I was going to demonstrate have just crashed to the floor. But you know me, I never watch these back. I never re-edit. So I'm going to continue. Yes, so everything is an invitation. And then that way, the kids feel really empowered. And they allow me to meet them. And that is what it's all about. You know, as one child said to me last month, and it totally made my year. She said to me, do you know what, Juliana, when you're grown up, well, that thrilled me for a start. She said, I think you'd make a really good therapist. And I thought, how wonderful is that? Because there isn't that barrier, and we've connected. And, you know, I think that's the biggest compliment I've had all year. Anyway, back to my game. So I'll give you an example. You could turn it into a game of snakes and ladders. So just a minute. Here is my snakes and ladders. Look, I've had it for years. And on the back is Ludo if you want to change it into that. It's full of surprises. So engage the kids and make it into a game. And what you could do with this anxiety exploration box, which I have filled with a number of questions, because I really thought about this and what the triggers are and what goes on for people and what's going on for them and their backgrounds and what they've learned and what they're surrounded with. I have wrung my brain out like a little old flannel until it's wrung out with really trying to get inside the mindset of bullies and the mindset of victims. I mean, I've personally experienced awful bullying as an adult. So, and Boo agrees with me, my little therapy dog there, her enemies are coming up the hill at just the right moment, the working dogs, and she's barking at them from her fluffy cushion on the sofa. So do excuse the background noise. So I came up with a set of questions, and I thought they could be used not only for anxiety, but for anger as well. So you could have a game of snakes and ladders, and for instance, if you go up the ladder, you could say something that makes you anxious. And if you go down a snake, you could say something that makes you angry. Because as victims of bullying, we are angry. We get angry about stuff. You know, we get angry that we're too scared to speak to people, that we've got nowhere to go, that, you know, this is being done to us and why. You know, so it's really, really relevant to both parties. And if we don't deal with the bullies, we are never going to get rid of this problem. So just say that I've gone up a ladder. So I'll do an anxiety one. Okay, let's have a look here. What happens to your body when you start to feel anxious? You can use a drawing, you can use sound, you can use yoga, you can use massage to describe it, so you don't just have to talk about it. Well, I love talking. I just thought I'd mention that. So what happens to my body when I start to feel anxious? Well, I do suffer with anxiety. So my body, when I get anxious, I get this terrible tension in my tummy. I can't eat. I get a really dry throat. My thinking gets scattered. I find it difficult to focus, and it's just this awful, awful lump of dread, fear and worry in my stomach. And sometimes I can just wake up with that. I really shouldn't be saying this, but I am, because it does happen, you know, and I have gone through stuff, so I can really, really relate. So let me do another one. So say I've gone down a snake, so it's going to be an anger one. What ways have you tried to cope with your anger? What worked the best? What didn't work at all? And that's really important, you know, because different things work for different people. So when I get angry, and obviously sometimes I do, I'm walking a journey with my daughter at the moment, which is an extremely tough one, and one I haven't personally experienced. But the root cause of it goes back to when I was married, and I'm angry about that. I'm angry. I'm angry that I didn't know. I'm angry that the person responsible will never pay for what he did. And I'm angry for the journey that she's had to go through as a result of that, with me walking alongside her and sympathising, and she's been my biggest teacher this year. But I can't empathise. I can't, well, I can, because I'm a mum, but I haven't walked it, so I'm learning. And that's made me angry too. So how have I coped with it? Well, I've been open to learning. I've been open to listening. I've listened and listened and listened, and I've learned the most I've ever learned through this journey. How do I cope with it is a difficult one, because it's a work in progress, and that's absolutely fine to say that. So what really works for me is yoga, because it lets out a lot of my emotion. It helps me regulate that emotion. I do a lot of touch for myself, particularly on my anxiety points, you know, on the back, when I hold my elbows and put my hands back just below the collarbone, the touch there. I'll do lots of yoga, which really pushes up the dopamine and serotonin from the gut. So child's pose, which is making me feel safe. I'll do the hugs down the arms, which I learnt in my special yoga training, and down my legs to keep me feel grounded and bring that anger down. I'll massage my temples to bring back clear thinking. I massage my forehead, which helps with sleep, mood and aggression levels. And obviously sleep and mood can get disturbed when you're going through a particularly tricky patch. So those are the things that have worked. They might work for you, which is why I've shared them. Things that didn't work at all are when, well, I don't talk to people about that, but when I've had other issues or things going on, and I've spoken to people and they've said, you'll be fine. Oh, it'll all be all right. And inside, I'm thinking, I'm a really calm person, but actually, I'd really like to give you a bit of a punch on the nose, because how can you promise me that? Don't give me false promises because you're uncomfortable with what I'm saying. You know, be strong. What's that about? You know, sometimes it's strong to cry. And unfortunately for years, I've had, oh, be strong, you'll be all right, drummed into me. And so now it's really, really difficult for me to cry. Not for other people, oh my God, I'm a nightmare, but for myself. So that hasn't worked for me, is people giving me cliches and false promises and just emptiness, empty words, because they're afraid to meet me. They're uncomfortable with what I'm saying. And so very often I will keep things in my head. And I know that a lot of victims of bullying and people who bully, you know, there's lots going on for them. And some of that can be really hard to talk about. And so putting things into games is a really good way to do it. And I say to everybody I work with, children, young adults, whoever it is, you don't have to answer the question. You can make up one of your own if you like and ask me. Or you could pick one out the box and ask me and I'll answer you honestly. So I'm doing it with them. And it's a conversation starter. It begins that dialogue and they know I'm there with no judgment. I couldn't. I'm in no place to judge anybody. But I do have an awful lot of heart wisdom, and as well as all my training. And I hope the mixture of those two makes people feel held. I've also done some really nuts things. Not that that's a big surprise. I had somebody once, I mean, it's appropriately named for me. I got it from a charity shop. A dear, dear friend gave it to me. It's called Basket Case. I must tell you about this. So I had this little rotter come to see me, and he was picking up very bullying habits. And I wanted to nip those in the bud because he was only 6 or 7 at the time. This was before COVID, and it was pouring with rain outside, and he does have pathological demand avoidance. And so, especially with that, everything has to be an invitation. It can't be yes or no answers. It can't be you have to do it in a certain way that makes them think it's their idea, or, you know, it's a way of working around it. So it was lashing with rain outside, and this little boy said to me, I don't want to do anything inside. So I said, well, look at the rain outside, it's pouring down. So he said, well, I don't care. He said, I'm going to do things if we go in the rain. So I said, all right then. And we took this game of basket case out in the rain. And basket case involves putting a net on your head, and one of you is the red team and one of you is the white team. And you have to try, so this little boy was red, he made me be white. I wanted to be red, but I gave in. So he threw the red balls in, and whoever got the most balls in the baskets could then ask a question. And if he didn't like any of the questions that I had at that time, because this box I've come up with recently, so I've got loads of stuff in my chalet wardrobe, we were doing other things around anger, actually, specifically anger. So he would ask a question, but I would also join in and talk about when I got angry. Anyway, we were soaking wet by this time. He said, I can't believe that you're out here in the rain with me. Could we play another game? So I had one of those nets that you can attach to garden tables and make it into ping pong. So we played ping pong. And I also got out a few sweeties. And every time he won, he got to ask me a question about anger. And every time I won, I got to ask him a question about anger. And when we answered, we got a sweetie. I'm waffling on, but I'm just showing you all the different ways that you could put it into games. You know, talk about anxiety. Get out Uno. You know, make each colour card an emotion. You know, what makes you feel happy, what makes you feel worried, what triggers your anger. You know, there's so many different ways to explore that spectrum of who we are, but really keep the kids talking, you know. And sometimes I've worked with bullies and I know they've done awful things, and it's really, really hard for me to even want to meet them because I'm so hurt and so angry, and I see the victims off of school and the bullies being rewarded because they've had a day where they haven't punched a wall or attacked somebody. You know, in my son's school, the police are very often there, and that's pretty typical of a lot of schools around the country in the UK at the moment. You know, and especially since COVID, those aggression levels are rising. But as therapists, teachers, doctors, parents, we have to rise above our own feelings, and we have to try and meet that person where they are, even if that's a really horrible place that we don't want to go to. Because if we don't tackle that cause, that child who's always missing school is never going to come back, or they're going to move school. And both of those parties are going to go on through life thinking that that's the answer. So please, whatever it takes, even if it's ping pong in the flipping rain. Oh God, I've said flipping on YouTube again. They might ban me soon. And I'm doing this for Anna Kennedy online bullying campaign. Sorry, Anna, didn't mean to say flipping. It's just I get a bit excited sometimes. Oh, that's another thing. If you want to know more about my articles this week on bullying, please log on to www.annakennedyonline.com, where I'm her wellbeing ambassador, and I'm writing an article. I'm going to try and do one every day, but my workload is so mental, it might not be every day, but I'm going to try and do it as much as I can this week. So if you want to know any more about games, resources, you know, you can bear watching this video again. You need a medal. It's all there. It's all on Anna Kennedy Online as well. So look it up. And often I put, like yesterday when I talked about the yoga, I gave free resources that you can download and print. You know, there's no copyright, there's no nothing. Just go ahead and use those resources, please. You know, this is what I'm doing it for. I don't get paid for any of this work. And you know what? Even though I could do with an extra bob or two, I would still do it for free. You know, if I was a millionaire, I'd do all of it for free, because we have to be in this together. So if you think my videos and my resources can help anybody you know, it would be great if you could like and subscribe. Like I say, I honestly don't earn anything from this. I just want to help. And you can help by spreading the word. And I know I'm a bit off the wall and a little bit unconventional. I've never been able to colour inside the lines, even as a child. But you know what? Sometimes off the wall works. And it engages people in a way that making them sit in a chair in front of you with a clock behind their head doesn't. And by the way, I wasn't criticising that. Excuse me. I really wasn't. It's courses for horses. And I'm playful in what I do. And I hope authentic. And, well, no, I know I am. And that seems to work for a lot of people. So if you think my way could work for somebody you know, then please share it. Because, you know, the bullies are suffering somewhere inside, but more importantly, the victims are. And my thoughts are so with my friend who's in hospital today. Because for some people who are bullied, the journey is never ending. You know, they have PTSD, anxiety, panic attacks, which can feel like heart attacks. You know, it really is serious. It's not that they're bullied for a week and we're all aware of it and we then get on with life. We need to really find out the reasons and provide the resources. That's what Bullying Awareness Week should be about, is us learning about the victims, the bullies, and putting those things in place to stop this. We've got to stop this, because you could be that one adult, that one person who actually saves a life or changes a life. So please share, and please look me up on Anna Kennedy. And if there's anything else I can ever do to help, drop me an email at info@therapiesforspecialneeds.co.uk. And you don't have to be neurodiverse to do that. You know, it's for everybody. What I do is inclusive of everybody. So take care, stay safe, and I'll speak to you really, really soon. I've been fairly well behaved on this one, apart from the flipping bit.